My sister dragged me to court after her son destroyed my diamond wedding rings. It's true. Only last month, at our rehearsal dinner, her 7-year-old called them ugly, then flushed them down a diner's drain. My sister chuckled, proffered plastic replacements, and told me to chill out. I refused. But my fiancé did something I'll never forget. And now she's suing me for alleged emotional damages. You know that gut-wrenching feeling when someone you love, someone whose family, utterly betrays you? The night before my wedding, my own sister stood there, phone recording, and smiled as her son dropped my engagement and wedding rings down a restaurant drain. And then she told me to chill. What the hell would you even do in that moment? Because I honestly didn't know if I could breathe. My name is Mara, I'm 31, and I've always been the responsible one. The oldest of 3, the spreadsheet queen, the one who remembers every birthday and fronts the cash for family emergencies. I work in accounting. I'm practical, sensible. My idea of wild is buying the nicer paper towels seriously. People call me for favors, which always means money, time, or both. And for years, I just said yes. Last month, that life, that version of me, hit a wall. The rehearsal dinner was at this mid-priced Italian spot. Red napkins, string lights, a brass drain in the middle of the floor I'd never noticed before. But that night, it was all I could see. I'd taken my rings off for just 30 seconds, my engagement diamond with a slim pave band, and the wedding band we were blessing after dessert. I'd set them on a folded napkin to fix my nephew Milo's ketchup explosion. His mom, my sister Tessa, was too busy recording an Instagram story. Practice dinner, but make it fashion. Milo, he's 7. A fast 7. All hands and curiosity, like a raccoon at 3 a.m. He picked up the napkin. He peeked. And then, clear as a bell, in that unfiltered kid voice that can slice skin, he said, "These are ugly." The room just slowed down. My mouth opened, but no words came out. My fiancé, Aaron, was already on his feet, reaching. But Milo, he just took another step towards that little brass drain, like he'd discovered a wishing well. "Milo, no," I gasped. "And Tessa?" She laughed. "Oh my God, Mara, don't be so dramatic. They're fake." Clink, another. A hollow echo. Then, the softest sound, like a breath going somewhere I couldn't follow. "Milo." Aaron's voice went low, calm, almost too calm. "Where did you put them?" "In there," he chirped, smiling. Why? Because Tessa was smiling. And the phone in her hand still had that tiny red recording light blinking. I dropped to my knees on that cold tile floor, in a dress I'd bought to feel nice, but not too nice. I lifted the grate. My thumb slipped. Grease. Soap film. Shadows. Nothing. "They'll get them out," Tessa said, already bored. "It's a restaurant. They have tools." She turned to me, a smirk on her face. "You're being weird. Chill. If you're going to freak out about jewelry, you shouldn't leave it lying around." "Apologize," Aaron said to her. Not loud. Firm. "Right now." Tessa's smile sharpened. "To who?" "The drain." I looked up at her. At her phone. At my mother doing that tight-lipped frown she uses instead of choosing a side. At the waiter hovering with a pitcher of water, his eyes pleading, "Please don't cry." My hands were shaking so bad. The napkin lay open, empty. "Say you're sorry." I repeated, but my mouth tasted like metal. And that's when Tessa delivered the line that burned a groove into the night, into my very soul. "God, Mara, if it's that deep for you, I'll Amazon some plastic ones. Prime. They'll be here by morning. You can cosplay married." Aaron knelt beside me, his palm on the tile, his eyes already tracking where the pipes ran. He took a long, steady breath, like he was making a ledger in his head. He looked at me, not the drain. "We're going to fix this," he said, like it was a fact. I nodded, because I desperately needed one. Behind us, Tessa laughed again, like this was content. "Seriously," she said, waving her phone. "You're embarrassing yourself." I put the grate back, because my hands wouldn't stop sliding. I stood up. Everyone watched me like I was about to choose whether to set the room on fire or swallow it whole. I didn't do either. I smiled so hard my gums ached, and I said, "Let's eat." And we did, with a hole in the floor, and a much bigger one in my chest. And that, believe it or not, was the last calm thing that happened for a while. This is the part where you understand why that laugh felt like a match dropped in old, dry straw. I've been the family safety net since I was 22, since I landed my first real job. It started small. Can you spot me until Friday? From Tessa when she overdraft. We're short on rent. From Mom when Dad's hours got cut. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I was lucky, and if you're lucky, you help. I paid Tessa's traffic ticket because she swore she'd lose her license. I co-signed her first apartment. It'll boost my credit too, she'd said, like it was a team sport. When Milo was born, I bought the crib, the stroller, half of Target, because she cried in the baby aisle, and I just couldn't stand it. She has this gift for making her mess feel like your emergency. Mom calls it Tessa Sparkle. Dad calls it bad luck. I call it bills. Every time I tried to set a boundary, the script would start. You're the oldest, Mara. You're responsible. You chose accounting. You like money. You can always make more. Family doesn't nickel and dime family. Don't be selfish. He's just a kid. Don't make everything about you. Meanwhile, nobody noticed how I kept shrinking to fit around them. I delayed grad school. I stayed in a tiny apartment with a neighbor who practiced trumpet at 11 p.m. because it was cheap and close to Mom. I learned which utilities charged the lowest late fees and how long you could float a balance before they got mean. When Aaron and I got engaged, I made spreadsheets for the wedding. Savings, vendors, a wish versus reality tab that I color-coded in gentle greens so my anxiety wouldn't flare. We picked modest. A venue with chairs included. Flowers from a friend who owed me a favor. The rings? That's where we didn't compromise. I'd inherited a little from Grandma. Not money, but 2 tiny diamonds she wore on a brooch. They weren't huge, but they were ours. I put them toward my engagement ring and the wedding band, a clean channel setting I loved because it was quiet and bright at the same time. I added insurance, like a responsible adult, and filed the appraisal in a folder labeled important. I paid the premiums myself because I didn't want anyone to say I'd asked them for anything. Tessa didn't congratulate us so much as she critiqued our choices. Who does a Friday wedding? Why aren't you doing open bar? If you want the reception to be fun, you should hire a photo booth. Those are cute. Every suggestion was a price tag with a sharpened edge. Mom's favorite line returned. You're the one with a good job. As if good meant bottomless. 2 months before the wedding, Tessa called me crying because her car had died. Translation, she'd ignored the oil light for 3 weeks. I paid half the repair because the babysitter needed a ride. A week later, she asked if Milo could be ring bearer. We said yes. I bought him a small suit from a discount rack and felt this dumb pride as he squinted at himself in the mirror, like he was seeing a future where he took care of things. I wanted it to be good for all of us. I wanted the story to finally be, we showed up. Then the rehearsal dinner happened. The second the rings went down that drain, Tessa's tone changed from breezy to bored. They're insured, right? She said, like that settled it. As if insurance is magic. As if deductibles don't exist. As if we'll replace them means no harm, no foul. She leaned back in her chair and told Milo to say sorry. He mumbled some syllables. She filmed him pouting. Caption, boys will be boys. I went to the owner, Matteo, to ask about the drain. He was kind. We close at 10, he said. The traps are accessible, but I need my plumber. I can call him. He added gently, these pipes are old. Don't stick your hands in there. Aaron squeezed my hand. We'll do whatever you need, he told Matteo. We'll pay for it. Tessa sighed loudly. So dramatic. Honestly, Mara, you should be mad at yourself. You left them out. Basic. Mom nodded, like it was a sermon. She's not wrong. You can't blame a child. I stared at them, feeling this yawning space open behind my ribs. I thought about every Zelle transfer, every just this once. Every time I'd chosen quiet over dignity because I didn't want a scene. I thought about how many times Tessa had broken something that didn't belong to her. A borrowed sweater, my blender, trust, and laughed it off like gravity was persecuting her personally. The check came. I reached for it. Tessa posted a boomerang of clinking glasses with the caption, pre-wedding chaos. Send vibes. Aaron didn't, by the way. He didn't clink. He didn't drink. He just watched the drain like it had a heartbeat. We went home with a plan to meet the plumber in the morning. Tessa texted me a link to fun wedding bands under $20 with a winky face. Mom texted, please don't ruin tomorrow. I lay awake, listening to the apartment heat click on and off, replaying Milo's voice. These are ugly. Somewhere after midnight, something in me stopped asking for a better version of the people I already had. Morning came with that stomach drop feeling you get before a dentist drill. Aaron was up before me. Phone in hand, shoes on. He kissed my forehead. Coffee's on. 10 minutes and we go. At 8:05 a.m., Mateo opened the restaurant early. The plumber, a guy named Luis with kind eyes and boots older than Milo, pulled the trap. Grease, gray water, a hair tie, a penny. Everyone held their breath when the first ring didn't appear. Then Aaron did the thing I will remember until I die. He rolled up his sleeves, reached into the black sludge bowl Luis had set down, and sifted, slow and patient, like panning a river. He didn't flinch. He didn't look at Tessa's texts lighting up my phone. So, found your plastic? He just kept looking, with a faith I didn't have in that moment. I've got something, he said. Finally, he rinsed. He held up the wedding band. The plain one. Bent. Scratched. But ours. Everyone cheered like we'd pulled a person from a collapsed building. I cried, ugly and relieved, while Luis said there could be more in the main line, but it would take a camera and time and a bigger invoice. Tessa posted an Instagram of her mimosa. Congrats on your little rescue, she wrote in the family chat. Now, can we get back to not making everything about your stuff? That was the spark on the straw, and the wind was coming. I didn't yell. I've yelled before. It doesn't work on people who treat your anger like a show. I did it differently. I typed in the family group chat, where Tessa lives like it's her real address. Here's what's going to happen, I wrote. At noon, Aaron and I are filing a police report for property damage. At 1 p.m., we're contacting the insurance company with the report number, the appraisal, and the video Tessa took of Milo dropping the rings. At 2 p.m., we're sending Tessa an invoice for the deductible and plumber costs. After that, any communication goes through email. 3 dots. Then Tessa. LOL. You're not actually doing paperwork over a mistake. Mom. Mara, it was an accident. Don't ruin your wedding day. Me. I didn't ruin anything. I didn't record my nephew destroying family property and laugh. Tessa, it's a drain. Things go in drains. Get better rings. Aaron took the phone from my hand, set it on the table, and pressed his palm to mine. You don't owe them an argument, he said. You owe yourself a line. At noon, we walked into the precinct with a printed appraisal, screenshots of Tessa's story, and a timeline. I handed the officer the manila folder. I'm not here to get a child in trouble, I said. I'm here to document that an adult created a situation where a child damaged property. He nodded like he'd seen this exact movie before. Good papers, he said. Your friend. We called insurance. The adjuster's voice went warm when she heard the phrases I'd organized in my notes. Appraisal on file, incident report, video evidence, plumber invoice forthcoming. She explained the process and the deductible. She asked whether the engagement diamond had been recovered. It hadn't. She said, kindly, we'll take it from here. At 2 p.m., I emailed Tessa, CCing Aaron and myself. Subject, rehearsal dinner incident costs and next steps. Body matter of fact. No throat clearing. No, I'm sorry, but, she replied from the hair salon. Apparently, I'm not paying for your princess meltdown. You should have held on to your toys. Don't email me again unless it's an apology. An hour later, right as I was pinning my hair and trying to remember how to breathe, my phone lit up with Mom. I let it ring. Then again. Then again. I answered on the 4th try because I knew if I didn't, she'd show up at the venue. You're breaking your grandmother's heart. Mom started. This is not who we are. Who are we? I asked. People who tell a bride to buy plastic replacements because a 7-year-old flushed her rings while his mother filmed? Silence. Then the maneuver I grew up with. Your tone is very disrespectful. I'm done. Paying for your comfort with my silence, I said. Aaron squeezed my shoulder. I put Mom on speaker. Here's what's real, I continued. I've paid for your emergencies for 10 years. I've covered Tessa more times than I can count. I asked for nothing back. Today, I'm asking for accountability. I'm not going to absorb more debt so Tessa can laugh at consequences. Mom's voice went cold. You are heartless. Aaron spoke for the first time. No, he said, calm as a bank vault. She's finally being fair. We got married that evening with 1 ring. The bent band Luis rescued, and a plain gold stand-in the jeweler rushed for us. Aaron slid the rescued band onto my finger first, kissed my hand, and whispered, we'll tell our kids this story and laugh, but not today. After the ceremony, during dessert, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I didn't answer. A voicemail transcribed itself on my screen. Anyway, this is an officer calling regarding a disturbance at your mother's home. Please call back. I stepped outside. The sky was purple and noisy. I called. The officer said everything was fine, but there had been a loud argument about ring drama, and my sister had said I was harassing her with legal threats. I sent an invoice, I said. That's not a crime, he said, almost amused. Thank you, I said. That's what I thought. I went back inside, kissed my husband, and danced like my bones needed it, because they did. At 9 a.m. the next morning, Tessa served me with a texted PDF of a small claims filing titled Tessa MV Maras, Emotional Distress and Defamation. I laughed then, sharp and tired. She'd attached screenshots of my email, a blurry photo of me kneeling by a drain, public humiliation, and a caption from someone else's story where I'm making the face you make when your life takes a left turn in public. She wrote, "My sister caused me crippling stress the day before her wedding. I suffered migraines. She wanted $5,000 for migraines." Aaron read it and said, "Okay, let's answer it." And we did. If you've never had a family member sue you, here's a fun fact. It turns every chat thread into a crime scene. Cousin Chloe DM'd me a week later. I watched the video again. I'm sorry I piled on. Aunt Lena sent a plant with a note that said, "For your new home ecosystem." Uncle Dean emailed a real apology. Not for the lawsuit. He had nothing to do with that. For not speaking up when it would have mattered. It mattered now anyway. The best message came from someone I didn't expect. Our father. He's always been quiet in the family mess, drowning his discomfort in projects in the garage. He wrote, "I should have stopped Tessie years ago. I didn't. That's on me. If you'll have me, I'd like to make this right by paying what the court ordered." He did. On time. With a note in the memo, "For my daughter's dignity." I cried over that one, not because of the money, but because he named the thing. 2 weeks later, insurance finalized the claim. The replacement quote arrived. I didn't want new. I wanted what we had. The jeweler examined the rescued band, straightened it like a chiropractor, set one of Grandma's tiny side stones we'd kept aside into a safe, subtle place, and polished the scratches until they were soft, not gone. When I slid it back on, it felt like home. Not the house you grew up in, because that place belongs to everyone. The kind you earn, room by room. I keep trying to find a clever way to end this, but life rarely sticks the landing for you. You just decide the landing is here. Here's my landing. I'm not the family bank anymore. I'm not the one who fixes their fires at cost to my own roof. I'm the person who sends invoices, follows up, and doesn't apologize for refusing to be used. I didn't cut everyone off. I cut off the behavior. If someone shows up with respect, I open the door. If they show up with relax and try plastic, they can try the neighbor. I don't hate my nephew. He's 7. His mother made a game out of a boundary, and he played along. When he's older, if he wants to know the truth, I'll show him the scar on my ring and tell him what it cost for me to learn to say no out loud. Aaron's unforgettable thing wasn't just his arm in a bowl of sludge. It was how he stood beside me without asking me to be smaller so the room could stay comfortable. He looked at the mess, then at me, and chose us. Sometimes love is soft words. Sometimes it's a steady hand on a line you finally drew. Tessa still posts. Of course she does. The algorithm is her altar. There are entire weeks when I don't think about her at all. Then a memory taps me on the shoulder. Her laugh by the drain. My mother's "Don't ruin tomorrow." The chill of tile under my knees. The memory doesn't hurt like it did. It's just information now. A map of how I got here. If you're watching this because your family taught you that your wallet is your worth, or that the responsible one means you are a resource for everyone else's poor choices, here's the moral I wish someone had handed me years ago, printed on something you can't crumple. Love isn't a tab. Kindness isn't an open line of credit. Boundaries are not cruelty. They're the price of having a self. My ring is a little crooked if you look closely. Good. So am I. Bent, not broken. Paid for, not owed. And when I hear laughter now, I check where it's aimed. If it's at me for keeping what's mine safe, I let it pass through, like water through a pipe that doesn't keep anyone else's trash anymore. What about you? Have you ever had to draw a hard line with family, even when it felt impossible? How did it go? Tell me in the comments below. I really want to know your stories.